Ecuador was not our first choice when we decided to leave the United States and move abroad back in 2016.
In fact, we were considering a different location that was much closer to home, but we ruled that out for a few reasons that we will discuss later in this video.
However, after traveling throughout Ecuador and parts of Colombia and Mexico, we decided it was time to revisit our first choice and finally answer the question,
were we wrong? Did we make the wrong choice?
Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button if you're thinking about living abroad or working online, because that's what we do and we want to help you do it too.
If you've been watching our channel for a while, then you might already know what city we're going to talk about today.
Playa del Carmen, Mexico was our first choice when we planned our exodus from the United States. We had both been there and we both liked it, so it was kind of a familiar element. It wasn't so much uncertainty.
However, after doing a bunch of research and weighing the pros and cons, we ended up moving to Cuenca, Ecuador instead.
So today we're going to share the pros and cons of Playa del Carmen and let you know if we think we made the wrong decision.
Como siempre, starting with the pros, and that is that Playa del Carmen is pedestrian friendly.
There's a nice long walking area. It's 5.2 kilometers, which I think is over 3 miles. It's mostly flat down 5th Avenue. Lots of restaurants and shopping, and there's no cars allowed on that road, so you don't have to worry about getting run over.
We were really impressed too that the drivers were very pedestrian conscious, meaning they would stop for us and let us cross as opposed to speeding up like they do in many parts of Ecuador.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock when we came home and we realized we actually have to wait for all of the cars to go by before they stop and let the pedestrians go.
We loved the people watching. If you're into that, you are going to have a blast in Playa del Carmen because there's such a wide variety of people. Digital nomads, all different ages, retirees, foreign residents from all over the world, and of course, tourists from all over the world. We heard so many different languages being spoken, and it was really cool.
And of course, there's a lot of Mexicans there too, and they are great hosts. They really enjoy having us tourists and foreign residents there. So they made us feel right at home.
There are also great restaurants. Man, we ate way too much.
Yeah, we ate out too much. We always rent a place with a kitchen so that we can cook, and then we only eat breakfast there. And in fact, there were places where we ate out for breakfast in Playa del Carmen too, which is not usual for us. But the food was so delicious and there was such a wide variety of cuisines from all over the world that we just found ourselves out every night eating somewhere.
The restaurants also had a wide variety of options for different dietary needs, so you should be able to find anything that will suit your needs in Playa del Carmen.
There's also a wide variety of shopping options. That's one thing that we really appreciated there. There's not only the local tiendas that sell the fruits and vegetables, but there's a lot of big stores, grocery stores, and there's several of them throughout the town. So wherever you're gonna stay, you're probably gonna be walking distance to one of those nice grocery stores. There's also a Walmart and a Home Depot, lots of little pharmacies around in the neighborhoods, and they sell pretty much anything that you can imagine. Whether it's good or not, we don't know, but you can buy it.
Yeah, I was actually shocked by the amount of pharmacies that were selling anything that you can get your hands on that would be a prescription for us back in the United States. So buyer beware for that, but that's a lot different than it was the last time I was in Playa del Carmen. Holy cow.
Yeah, and they were pitching it too. So we went in to buy some allergy pills and they asked us if we wanted hydrocodone and Valium. Like, no need for that right now, thanks.
But they also have a brand new, well, I don't know how new it is, but a big shopping mall. The shopping has really exploded. It's been quite a few years since we've been in Playa del Carmen, and I was surprised by that. I had already been on 5th Avenue plenty of times where they had all the little tourist shops and like the silver stores and all of that. But now you've got like Sephora and I mean, all sorts of brands from the US and other countries. It was unbelievable. So yeah, you can get pretty much anything you need in Playa del Carmen.
The last pro that we're going to talk about is there are lots of things to do and more than just drinking tequila.
Yeah, or walking on the beach. Although the beach is not as good as it used to be, but that's okay. There's so many other things to do. There are a ton of different water sports, just outdoor sports in general, like golfing and cycling. You can go on a whole bunch of different day trips. You can just eat and just lay on the beach if that's your thing. You can find all sorts of stuff to keep you busy.
Tulum is not too far away, neither is Chichen Itza, and you can hop on the ferry over to Cozumel if you want to. Plus the nightlife in Playa del Carmen is unparalleled. That's something that we miss here in Ecuador. We just don't have that kind of nightlife where You have all of the colorful street performers dancing and playing musical instruments and just dressed up in costumes and stuff. It's just such a cool place to sit out on one of those street side restaurants and just watch people and all of the performers.
Yeah, I loved being there because it was just so fun and so vibrant.
Before we share the cons of Playa del Carmen, if you're thinking about moving abroad, then check below for a link to our newsletter opt-in. You'll be able to download our 5 countries report, which showcases our top 5 picks for the best places to live, work, and retire in Latin America. So again, check below for that link and you can download it immediately and get a few extra perks.
And now for the cons of PDC. And the first is that it is hot and humid. Air conditioning required.
Yeah, we sweat so much while we were there. We forgot what it was like to be on the coast because we live in the mountains in Ecuador where it's always like 70 degrees and not very humid. So that was quite shocking for us. Man, I can't believe how much I would sweat throughout the day. And even in the evening, sitting out having dinner was hot.
Yeah, it was hotter there than it was when we lived in Olón and in Manta.
Yeah, it was. In Olón and Manta, it's usually in the low 80s. I would say it was upper 80s and just a lot more humid than what we were used to.
It was also super crowded, especially in the tourist areas, which didn't really bother me that much because I was just enjoying all the people. However, I think that would get pretty old after a while. We were there during the peak season, so it probably does get a little bit less crowded, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was elbow to elbow in some places. The other thing we were really disappointed with was the beach. It was pretty non-existent in the main area, the main part of Playa del Carmen. The erosion and the rise of the water has taken away most of the beach. And what was left was covered with sargassum, that seaweed, the huge continent of seaweed that's floating around the Caribbean Sea. It was all over the beaches and, it stinks as it kind of decomposes. And then also in the main area, it's all resorts, like hotels. So there's really no beach access. We kept walking down, like, can we get to the beach? No, and they kept pointing us in another direction. So you can't really use the beach in the main area. However, there's a really nice beach on the north end of town. That's where most people go, but it's like a 15-minute walk from like down in the center of Playa del Carmen on 5th Avenue just to get to the beach.
Yeah, I was disappointed by that. The beach, the main beach over by the port where the ferry goes, it was packed with people. That just is not fun to me.
Yeah, it was a little tiny section of beach over there where the ferry leaves. And yeah, it was unbelievable how many people. Of course, there were performers over there too, fire performers. I love seeing that. So that was pretty neat.
Prices in the tourist area, they are much higher. We're talking like prices you would see in the States. And that was really disappointing. Not surprising, but kind of a bummer.
And walking the gauntlet is what I call it when you walk down 5th Avenue with all of the vendors out there. Hey, honeymooners, come over here, honeymooners. Or the new one that I noticed was, hey, remember me from the resort? We hadn't been at a resort, so obviously they just use that line to get people to come over. Also, free tequila. That was another one that we heard a lot, and they would have like a shop with a wall of tequila. So I guess the wives can go shopping and the men can get drunk and agree to buy all that stuff. Yeah,
I guess the competition is pretty fierce, especially coming down after the pandemic, but it was obnoxious.
Yeah, it got a little old after a while. And we were trying to talk and have a conversation, and then everybody's yelling at us to come in and their shop and look at their stuff. And that got a little old after a while.
However, if you live there as a local, you obviously know, it's very easy just to go off the main road or the 5th Avenue and walk around, so you could avoid all of that. And once you're off that tourist area, it's just like any other town.
Another con is that you can't drink the water. In fact, we haven't really felt comfortable drinking the water anywhere in Mexico, even in the resorts when we've stayed there. So we always travel with our water filter bottle so that we don't have to buy all those plastic bottles.
Yeah, it's great because it's got the water filter built in. These things work really well. I've been very happy with them.
Yeah, we used it the whole time we were in Mexico, and I'll put a link below so you can go learn more about the Be Fit, Be Free. Be Free water bottle.
And lastly, you cannot flush the toilet paper, or at least we couldn't in the Airbnb we stayed in Playa del Carmen. We stayed in a little local neighborhood, which was great. And that didn't bother us, but that really freaks some of you out. You get used to it, but it is an adjustment.
Yeah, a lot of the places we've stayed in Mexico, you weren't supposed to flush the toilet paper. And I think that's kind of common outside the United States, a lot more common than I realized, I guess. All right, Amelia, what do you think? Did we make the wrong decision moving to Cuenca instead of Playa del Carmen?
Well, we definitely could have moved there in the very beginning. Actually, I think it would have been a very easy transition as new foreign resident expat newbies because it felt very similar, and yet honestly, I just loved it. I loved it. It reminded me a lot of the time we spent in the Olón Montañita area, only just bigger with a lot more going on.
Yeah, I would say it's Montañita's like 20 years behind Playa del Carmen, but it did have a very similar feel with the shops and the vendors and the restaurants and the weather and the ocean. All of that felt very similar. I don't know. I still am happy that we chose Ecuador, especially Cuenca. We got to live in the mountains. I think we're mountain people a lot more than we are beach people. I like to vacation at the beach. I didn't really enjoy living at the beach or staying there where it's so hot and humid all the time.
I don't know. I agree with you. We are definitely mountain people. And after living on the coast for 2 years in Ecuador, I was dying to go back to the mountains. But being there, I could definitely live there short term. I don't know if I would want to live there for years, but
yeah,
JP, I loved it.
I know. I think that we would have been happy there, but I don't think we would have stayed there for very long.
Yeah, I agree with that. We probably wouldn't have stayed more than a year.
If you enjoyed our tour of Playa del Carmen, then check out this video next of Mexico City.
And remember to check below for the link to our newsletter so that you can grab your freebies.
All right, guys, that's all we have for today. We hope you have an unconventional day, and we will see you all in our next video.
Ciao.
Ciao.